Very interesting fight coming up this weekend at light heavyweight. We have the Knightmare William Knight taking on Maximus, Maxim Grishin. Originally, this was supposed to be Ed Herman, Max Grishin in a battle of older man toughness. And if I know anything about Ed Herman, sometimes you lose a finger in an artesian well, and then it gets reattached and you continue to fight and you win your fight. So crazy stuff from Ed Herman. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him this weekend, but in steps William Knight. He's won his last two fights. That's a lot of fun. Max Grishin, 1-2 in the UFC, but Grishin has a very extensive record outside of the promotion. He was able to take the O from former UFC light heavyweight and middleweight Jordan Johnson, and he also has a draw against Johnson in a 2-round fight with the PFL because playoffs are fun. But for Grishin, comes into the UFC really late in his career, on short notice, at heavyweight, loses to Marcin Tybura. Well, that's fine, right? So then he comes out the next time, beats Gadjimrat and Tigilov. And listen, I gotta be completely honest with you. I think every prospect that has hype should have to fight Gadjimrat and Tigilov. I was thinking this last night, because we're on Sunday after the fight night card. Jailton Almeida, Gadjimrat and Tigilov. That's the fight that then gets him into the top 15, and then he starts fighting.
I think Tigilov's fallen off a lot.
I know, but I still think that would have been the fight. Either way, Grishin beats Tigilov. That's a good win. The weird thing about this fight is both of these guys have claims that they either won or lost their last fight. For Grishin, he did not win the fight on the scale. He weighed 210.5. That is incredibly unprofessional when you're a light heavyweight. And he was getting ready for the fight in the States. Like, he was at Extreme Couture before that one. So, weird to see a guy missing weight, especially, a guy that's been a professional and hasn't really been an issue in the past. But for Grishin, knocks down Dustin Jacoby twice in the first round, outstrikes him in total throughout the entire fight, but it was the pressure of Jacoby in the second, third rounds that was able to get him that win, and I just wanted to talk about the totals in that one.
Totals don't mean anything.
Judges all had it 29-28 for Jacoby, 9 on MMA decisions, the media members had it for Jacoby, 6 had it for Max Grishin. For William Knight, I talk about this 2-fight win streak that he is on. He's got a win over Fabio, Cherant, finished him. He has a win over Alonzo Menafield his last time out. All 3 judges scored that contest 29-28. All 13 media members on MMA Decision scored it 29-28 for Alonzo Menafield the other way. It's just weird to see it when the judges all have it for one guy, and the public and Twitter in that case all had it for Menafield. So for Knight, it was a weird one because it was the clinch control of Menafield as the fight went on. It was the power shots when he was able to do those little flurries and blitzes that won it for William Knight. Kind of similar to the fight that we had last weekend, Puna Soriano, Nick Maximo, but the scorecards were a little bit reversed there.
I have a bit of a hot take, and I'm glad you brought up last weekend's co-main event. I kind of think this fight's going to be, at least entertainment-wise, kind of similar to that fight. And hear me out. This is a very, very strange fight because for William Knight to have any level of success, he's going to get through a wall of strikes. And it's not really like there's an actual wall there, but he's going to have to fight himself into range at a certain point. And here's the thing about Grishin. He is putting on hole 17, I believe, in his MMA career. I really do.
You're telling me 37-year-old with 40 fights?
But at this weight division, every other fighter is 40 or 37 years old with 40 fights. I just don't think Grishin is the fighter he was outside the UFC coming over. To me, it's very similar to when Douglas Lima was finally able to get the belt from Rory McDonald in Bellator. His prime, if you will, was very short-lived because it took him a long time to get all the skills required to sort of catch up to him physically. And then once he got a little bit older and his athleticism started to fade, it's just those two things didn't really match up all that well for him. With Grishin, I find him in kind of the same boat. Technically, yes, he has a very, very good skill set, but he does tire in fights sometimes. He doesn't always have the best distance management. You can get on the inside of him. But like you said, in the Jacoby fight, I famously said Dustin Jacoby is the 16th best light heavyweight in the world. I think anytime you beat him, you can probably get in the top 15. And when you lose to him, you don't have that much further to go. And I know we're going to disagree on this based on a text you sent me earlier. I think this is the worst weight class in the UFC by a long slide. Because you have guys like William Knight, Max Grishin who are borderline ranked fighters in it. When we talk about the bantamweight division before, we said what? There's basically a ranking outside of the ranking for their top 30. It's so deep. At light heavyweight, you really only need 1 or 2 wins to really get yourself up into that rankings conversation. And for Grishin, this is how I think the fight's going to go for him. I think he'll have success early on when he can keep William Knight outside of his range. But I worry about how does Grishin get his range back once he does lose it, because he's not the most mobile guy on his back foot. And I do worry about him sort of at least getting caught up against the cage and squared in at some point.
The weirdest thing about Grishin, he is really good from long range. He has great leg kicks. He has some of the best leg kicks you're going to see in this division. Like, they are incredible. And for a guy like William Knight does this. Stands with his head way back, his hands pretty low, heavy on his lead leg.
Lunges.
You don't see a lot of that working for a lot of fighters. But here's the thing. Heavyweight's going to have a season of The Ultimate Fighter where they just tried to bury under the rug. They have a guy that hasn't won a fight since 2017. He's 43, going by a different name, living in a different country. That's how bad heavyweight is. That season of The Ultimate Fighter, I'm not looking forward to it as it stands right now. I got to let that cat out of the bag.
When was the last time you were looking forward to an Ultimate Fighter? Because it's been a while for me.
After the fact, I got excited about the last season. But that was only after the fact. And Ricky Tercios, where you at, bud? I'd love to see that guy fight. But when it comes to that season, The Ultimate Fighter, it's not good for heavyweight. Heavyweight's in a weird spot where Aspinall's still a hot prospect. Chris Daukaus fell after the fight against Derek Lewis. I'm sure he'll be back. You do have some movers and shakers at heavyweight, but by and large, it's not a strong division. Light heavyweight. I'm getting excited about Tyson Pedro, who hasn't fought in like 3 years. But when Paul Craig's a ranked fighter, light heavyweight's in a bad spot. Middleweight is also not in the greatest spot. So when it comes to this fight, William Knight has a big opportunity to get a win here. He struggled when he took on a guy that I thought he was going to blow the doors off in Da Un Jung with the wrestling, which is somewhere where William Knight, with the judo throws and the body movement that he has, I would have thought he was going to be able to win that fight and not get out-wrestled by Da Un Jung, but it happened.
That fight to you, though, is like Jonathan Pierce, Joe Lozon to me. Like, it does stand out in your mind quite a bit anytime we talk about William Knight. But that's the thing. He is good at judo. He's not great at defending traditional takedowns. That's why I think it's going to really help him in this matchup, because he's so much shorter than Maxim Grishin, to where if they ever do get into a clinch situation, Grishin's not going to be able to shoot on the hips of William Knight. And that's why I actually think Knight's going to be the one who can dictate whether or not this fight is spent on the feet or on the mat.
We look at the odds for this fight, and for Max Grishin, open to minus 200 favorite. He's minus 176 right now. Again, this one on relatively short notice where Ed Herman fell out. For William Knight, open to plus 170, he's plus 144. You see him still doing the strength and conditioning on Instagram. Ooh. And training the boxing over at Thornton Martial Arts. We look at the votes on Tapology, 542 of them, 75% Knight, 58% by knockout for the 25% that have Grishin, 74% by decision. It's always fun to see when the odds disagree with the fans, and then our commenters say, yeah, but you can't look at the fans on Tapology. It's just a fun thing to do. We're fun guys talking about MMA on the internet.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
We're fun guys.
But when I focus on this one and not the guy that's out for the rest of the season, I do like William Knight. Again, Grishin has slapping leg kicks like Geddy Lee on the base. He has really good long-range weapons, and when he backs guys up against the cage, typically he has a lot of success. Good uppercuts, too, when he's in that clinch situation. I like William Knight with his power. I like William Knight when Max Grishin tries to close that distance. And I like him in those positions up against the cage to reverse position or earn takedowns of his own.
I know I normally make basketball references, but you can help me out with this one. Who was the first baseman for the Boston Red Sox who couldn't get that ground ball when the Mets won the title?
Bill Buckner.
Bill Buckner moves like Max Grishin. Like, Grishin doesn't move well on his feet.
He's got
whatsoever.
a good L step, that's it.
But he doesn't move forward or backwards all that well. Like, there is a labored pace to the way that he does move forwards and backwards. And poor Bill Buckner lost his team the World Series because his knees were bad. It's not like Grishin has knee issues to that level, but Grishin just doesn't move all that well on his feet for being such a big guy at this weight division. I agree with you. I like William Knight, but I will put some stock into how these guys face off come weigh-in day, because let's say Grishin looks huge compared to William Knight to the point where it looks like a heavyweight is fighting a middleweight, then maybe I will switch my pick, but I do like William Knight.
Fingers crossed Max Grishin makes the weight. Won't allow any Buckner slander on this channel. The guy had a Hall of Fame career and made one big mistake that everybody thinks about. Both of us going with the Knightmare, William Knight, to get the win. You let us know down below in the comment section who you have. Will it be Grishin? Will it be Knight? I don't know. Do you? It's going to be a good fight regardless. And up at the top at 185, you have a title fight for the ages. The rematch between Whittaker and Adesanya. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.